Hello, hello, CIY, how we doing? Good? Yeah? Dude, it is the last night, and I am so glad to be with all of you. We met earlier during the weird game that was obviously rigged, but glad to be with you. My name is Caleb, and I'm on staff at a church called Shepherd Church up in the Porter Ranch, San Fernando Valley area. And yeah, well, there you go, thanks. And we love CIY. There's so many people here, and I'm going to talk to you about my journey with CIY a little bit tonight. But I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about me. Like I said, I have my daughter, who's going to be a senior. I have my son, who's going to be a sophomore at Hope. I have my wife, the muy caliente Latina. Then I have my favorite family member, my dog named Oscar, because he is found on Academy Awards nights. And I fly a lot. I go and speak a lot. I go and work with other churches a lot. And let me let you know, I don't like flying. And it's not because I'm scared. I'm not scared of flying. As a matter of fact, if I go out that way, it's a good way to go. It's going to be exciting, and you're going to pass out before you hit the ground. It'll be memorable. So I'm like, win-win right there. So here's why I don't like flying. Because people are gross. Like, honestly, and some of you are clapping for that. Some of you are clapping for that. It's probably who we're talking about, maybe not. Maybe it's all the silent people, I don't know. But seriously, we live in a whole generation of people that take their shoes and socks off on the airplane and then walk barefoot into a commercial airliner bathroom, and they're probably amputees by now, let's be honest. But like, seriously, people are gross. If you look at my Instagram page, most of it is just weird things that people have done on airplanes. I have highlight reels. Like this one time, I had this woman sitting next to me. I don't know her. I've never met her. We get to cruising altitude, and homegirl takes off her shoes and socks and starts clipping her toenails. Now, I usually don't say anything. This time I did. I just looked at her and I said, "Seriously?" And she said, "Is this bothering you?" I said, "Yeah, your toenail is on my shoe." I said, "It wasn't there 5 minutes ago." She's like, "Well, I guess I could do this at home." And I'm like, "I love that plan. Let's go with that." As a matter of fact, I clip my toenails there. My wife has never seen me do that. She's like, "I've never tried doing this at home." People, this is why our society is doomed. This is why you don't murder. Number one, Jesus. Number two, that's who's going to decide if you get the chair or not. The toenail lady. That's it. This other time I was on this airplane, and I like to take red eyes late at night so I can hang out with my family. And I was sitting there with my Bible open, like some of you have the Bible, and you remember that it's actually in printed form too. And so I was there, and I was reading it, and the guy next to me, I could smell whatever he'd been drinking, so I'm like, this is going to be fun. And by the way, look, I'm going to give you a freebie tonight, okay? If you're ever flying and the person next to you starts talking to you, and you don't want them to talk to you, I've got two things that will ensure they will not talk to you on an airplane, okay? You ready? Number one, just go, conversation's over. For most people. If that doesn't end it and they keep on talking, when you look at them, go, "Hi." I'm not joking. I've done that. My wife was like, "Don't you get embarrassed?" I'm like, "I don't get embarrassed. I've spent most of my life looking like this. I don't get embarrassed." Not at all. I embrace it. So, I'm sitting there, and the guy next to me says, "Oh, Bible, huh?" And I'm like, look, I know we're supposed to be evangelistic, but there comes a point at night when the evangelism meter fades a little bit. I'm not saying that's right, just saying it's reality. And he's like, "Are you one of those Christians?" And I'm like, okay, now I'm in it. Now I'm in it. I'm in it. And I'm like, define those. He's like, "You one of those Christians that believe every book, every word in that book is true? You believe that Jesus came down here to heaven to save us from our sins? He died. Do you believe that he resurrected? Do you believe that he's coming back? And I'm like, yes, I'm one of those. He's like, I don't like people like you. You're weird. I'm like, well, I agree. I said, don't go to a Christian concert then. It's strange. And don't let them get a hands on a chicken or anything. It's weird. So I'm like, yeah, I get it. And he's like, you want to know my biggest problem with you? And he's going to tell me. So I'm like, no, please. And he's like, you all think that people are bad. And I'm like, yep, I absolutely do. He's like, I think people deep down are good. I'm like, well, I think people can be nice and kind in and of ourselves. Like, sin has made us bad. Like, we can't help it. That's our nature. We're bad. We're selfish. There's a gravitational pull towards self. He's like, no. People are good. And I'm like, excuse you? Okay. I'm like, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. I said, and you have to forgive me, sir. I love memorizing random, useless facts, and now they're coming into use. I'm like, do you know how many people, like in the 20th century, between 1900 that year and 2000, were murdered in China and Russia, apart from the wars? He's like, how many? I said, 120 million people were murdered in the last century. And I said, that's not counting all the other countries. And I said, you think people are good? He's like, well, other than that. Oh, sure. I said, can I ask you another question? He said, sure. I said, do you lock your door at nighttime? He said, yeah. I'm like, why? He's like, well, I don't want anybody coming in and taking my stuff or doing anything. I said, well, they wouldn't do that. They're good. I'm like, people are good. Leave your computer outside. Leave all your money outside. Drive up to San Francisco and open up your car door and leave it overnight on the street. It'll be fine because people don't do that. They're good. He's like, all right, man, I kind of see what you mean there. And so we talked the rest of the time. He didn't accept Jesus, but I like to think that maybe on down the road he did, but this is what we're talking about today. We're going to end with what Paul writes in this very last section of Ephesians 6, when he says, all of you need to be alert. You need to be ready. You're kingdom workers. If you are following Jesus, you don't have an option. That's not a decision you get to make. It was a decision made for you when you decided to follow him. It is your responsibility to tell people about Jesus. And because you are going to do that, you will have a big target on your back, and the enemy will come at you again and again and again. Because hear me on this. The enemy does not mind comfortable Christians. He is scared of committed Christians. He is terrified of committed Christians. And he's going to throw everything. And because of Jesus even promised this. Like, if you're not following Jesus, this might be a reason not to follow him. I don't know. I know that's not in the script. I'm just being honest. That when you follow Jesus, you will be rejected because of it. You will be pushed to the side. You will be made fun of. You will seem like an outsider. And you live in this world, but when you follow him, this world no longer your home. Wherever Jesus is, that's your home. This is why throughout the week we've been going through Ephesians, and we've been talking about the fact that kingdom workers are loved and rescued and changed. And this morning and tonight, we're talking about sent. God doesn't want what's happening here to end here. He wants you to take it with you every single day. Because listen, your biggest thing as a kingdom worker is going to be making disciples. It's going to be sharing the word of God, sharing Jesus with people, sometimes with your actions, a lot of times with your words, and also helping people understand what it looks like to follow Jesus. Now, that can be difficult, and a lot of the times we'll ask questions like this. Here's what I wrote down here. What if I don't know enough? What if I'm scared? What if I get rejected? What if no one listens? Here's the thing. You know the prophet Jeremiah? You know that long book in the Old Testament that you skip over sometimes and that kind of thing? The book of Jeremiah, do you know that he was seen as a successful prophet, and yet he preached God's word? He preached wanting people to come to repentance and follow God. Nobody ever came to faith under Jeremiah. And yet, God said, you were faithful, and I'm going to reward that. Listen, you have no idea who God is going to use you to reach. You have no idea. You might be scared, but you have no idea that somebody else's eternity might begin where your courage starts. And tonight, you need to start. And look, somebody took a risk on me. When I was 16 years old, I was at a CIY in Bolivar, Missouri, and I made a decision on Wednesday night to go forward and give my life to the ministry. And I had been baptized a week earlier. And people who knew me when I was 16 were like, there's no way that guy would ever become a Christian. I'll tell you why. So my whole childhood, I was raised by 3 LGBTQ parents. My whole childhood, my parents were divorced when I was 2. They divorced. And my dad had different friends. My mom was in a 22-year relationship with a woman named Vera. My dad stayed in Columbia, Missouri, where he was a professor. My mom and her partner moved to Kansas City, home of the greatest NFL team in the world. Good night. Hey. Let me, this is not count against my time, CIY. I have to address this heresy. Listen to me. Some of you are jealous, I get it, but hear me out on this. Hear me out on this. Did you know Patrick Mahomes is a Christian now? Yeah, he is. He's a Christian, and he's going to be in heaven. Like, you will spend eternity with him in heaven, or maybe some of you won't. I don't know, but he'll be there. So, you should cheer for Patrick Mahomes. You like that? That's what we call gaslighting. I have plenty more gaslighting left. All right, getting back on the story. My mom and dad and partner, they were on the board of directors for GLAAD, Gay and Lesbian Awareness Against Discrimination. My whole childhood, I was raised being taken to activist events, marching in pride parades with my mom and her partner. I was raised believing that Christians are the enemy. I saw Christians protesting my mom's parade, saying, God hates you, no room for you, throwing water and urine on people in the parade. I saw Christians ignoring their young sons dying of AIDS. Or if they're there, they're not talking to him, they're not having anything to do with him. And I would ask my mom, why are they acting like that? And she said, Caleb, they're Christians. Christians hate gay people. If you're not like them, they will not like you. And I was like, I never, ever want to be a Christian, because if Christians are this bad, I can't imagine how awful Jesus Christ must be. And so by the time I was 16, I had hair down to here. Since then the Lord removeth and addeth, and, I didn't realize that was funny, but okay. I was sneaking out at night. I didn't even need to sneak out. My parents were like, whatever you want to do, do it. If it feels good, do it. And so I was doing that. And then I got invited by a friend who was another high schooler to go to his house, like on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, to go to a Bible study that he led for other high schoolers. And I thought, this is going to be perfect. I'm going to go, and I'm going to be a pretend Christian and dismantle their faith. And that turned out real well, as you can tell. It was a great plan. I showed up. I grabbed an old, revised, whatever version of the Bible I hadn't read. And if this is your house, no shame. I'm just saying it was weird for me, an unchurched, unbelieving Christian 16-year-old who had never stepped foot in a Christian household, much less a Catholic household. I walked in. It looked like they had raided a Bible bookstore. Like, they had all the paintings. They had a picture of a lion and a sheep. I had never seen any house frame a picture of an animal they didn't own and hang it on the wall. I'm like, were these the animals sacrificed at the last Bible study? Is this an in memoriam wall? Then I saw a picture of a kid playing with a cobra and a sheep and a lamb, and I'm like, okay. Then my friend comes up from the, stairs and says, why don't you come down to the basement and join us? And I'm like, well, this is the beginning of a horror movie. Like, I've seen enough to know you don't say I'll be right back, and you don't say I'm going down to the basement. Those are things you don't do. But we went down there, and everybody's reading from like 1 Corinthians 9, and I didn't know this book had a table of contents at all. And so I couldn't find 1 Corinthians 9. And so I read a verse from Chronicles about some dude getting impaled. It was embarrassing, truly. And then they're like, where are you? And I said, First Chronicles. Are like, you're in the Old Testament. I'm like, so there's a new one. I didn't know we had updated 2.0. Like, not Book of Mormon fan fiction, but updated 2.0. So I ended up going back, and here's what I learned real quick. These people were sharing their faith with me, and here's what I learned, that Jesus was not like the people on the street corners, that Jesus Christ was not like the people ignoring their sons dying of AIDS. Jesus had very deep theological convictions. He had very real, beliefs and expectations for how his followers should treat people and love people, but he also loved people that the religious leaders of his day wanted nothing to do with. And I was like, man, I'm on board with that. I don't want a sheep picture, but I'm good with that, but I love this. And so I started studying what the Bible had to say about sexuality and relationships and marriage, and I came to two conclusions I still hold today. God created sex to be expressed in a marriage between a man and a woman, but our theological beliefs are never catalysts to devalue another person. Our biblical beliefs are never reasons to push somebody to the side. And then I woke up one morning, and I felt like I had become a Christian. I just felt like I believed in Jesus. And I remember I called my friend Greg. I'd been going on Sunday nights to his dad's church. And I was like, Greg, I called him. I said, I think I've turned Christian. I feel weird. What do I do? He's like, well, let's go eat Chinese food and I'll baptize you. So we did that. A week later, I was at a CIY. A week to the day that I got baptized, I went forward and gave my life to the ministry at a CIY because for some reason, after I got baptized, every morning I woke up, I could think of nothing more than serving in his kingdom and telling people about Jesus. But then I had to come out as a 16-year-old Christian who wanted to be a pastor to his 3 LGBTQ activist parents, and they kicked me out of their houses. So when I work with a lot of LGBTQ high school students or middle school students or college students or young adults are like, I thought only Christians do that. And I'm like, Homo sapiens do that. Humans, follow the science, people. If you're not a Homo sapien, I want to talk to you afterwards, okay? I'm like, humans do that because fear can be useful, but fear can be toxic when it determines how you treat people, when it determines the direction of your life, and that becomes the basis. And I ended up for several weeks staying on the couch of friends' houses. And I was hurt, but I still got so excited to get home from school to open up my Bible and read it. And I would ask one of my friends, one of my mentors named Roy Weiss, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And he turned to this passage that we're finishing up with today. Ephesians 6, the passage that was just read to you. Ephesians 6:10. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. And then he'd stop. He'd say, now your power, Caleb. He had a voice like, Mufasa or God or good Darth Vader, whatever you want to say. Be strong in the Lord and mighty in his power. Put on the full armor of God so you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Notice real quick, like rulers, authorities, powers, a lot of like scholars are like, what does that mean? And somehow these are talking about the evil forces in the spiritual world. I mean, Paul has knowledge here that we don't have, but that's what he's referring to. Notice right here, it doesn't say right here, for our struggle is against flesh and blood, like the person that has the locker next to you that is just bleh. Our struggle is not against a person on your team that you can't stand. Our struggle is not against a person gossiping about you. Our struggle is not against a person that does not like you or that you do not like. Your struggle is not against like the other political party. Your struggle is not against your parents. Your ultimate struggle is not against flesh and blood. This is why, when asked what's the most important commandment, Jesus said, love God, love your neighbor as you love yourself. He didn't say stand against your neighbor. He said love your neighbor. Pray for your enemies. Pray for your people who persecute you. Love your enemies. Love your neighbor. He says your struggle is not against flesh and blood. It is against the evil in the heavenly realms. And like in Ephesians chapter 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, Paul talks a lot about the heavenly realms. He says Jesus is in the heavenly realms. He says that he's been enthroned in the heavenly realms. He said that God somehow supernaturally, which our mind can't understand, took us and seated us in the heavenly realm. He said that basically that angels do their work from the heavenly realms. And now Paul is saying evil also does its work in the heavenly realms. Listen. Real quick side note. There is a spiritual world. And you cannot divorce the spiritual reality from the decisions you make and the actions you take. You cannot divorce that. They are linked together. And then here's what Paul says. He says, because our battle, by the way, it's not our battle, it's God's battle, that we're fighting for him because we are in his army. We are not in our army. Caleb's army, I mean, it would be eye candy. It would be good looking. Like I was over here and somebody was like, is that Brad Pitt? Oh, that's Caleb. Of course. I get that all the time. As a matter of fact, when my wife will wake up in the morning, I'm like, this is your eye candy. Nobody else wakes up to this. I mean, I said, in your wildest imagination, did you think your knight in shining armor would look like a cross between Charlie Brown, Gru, Uncle Fester, and Dr. Evil? I'm like, you are a lucky, lucky lady. My wife was like, oh, Caleb, you crazy. What you talking about? You crazy talking like that. You loco. So in verse 13, because it is because it's his battle, his war, and we are fighting for him, he gives us armor. We don't make it, he gives it to us, and it's a different kind of armor. Now, in the first century, everybody would have known that Paul was talking about Roman soldiers. I don't need to explain all that to you because all of you know it's like a soldier would have a belt and a helmet and sword and shield and all that kind of stuff. But take a look at this. He says, therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may stand your ground, and after you've done everything to stand. Then he says in verse 14, stand firm then. And in the first, like verse 10 through 14, the Apostle Paul wrote the word stand 4 times. You know why? He said, stand firm. He didn't say retreat. He didn't say, oh, check that out. He didn't say like, oh. He said, stand firm. Because Jesus is head of the church. Jesus has your back. He is with you. He says, stand firm then with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. And then he says, in addition to all this, take up your shield of faith, which you can extinguish the flaming arrows of the evil one. And notice, like when you think about arrows are dangerous enough, but when they're on fire, the reason why Vikings and other people, and even the Roman Empire used to shoot flaming arrows at people. Arrows enough are bad, but when they're on fire, the fire is not only meant to destroy, it's meant to distract you from the Romans who are charging you. Because not only have you been shot with an arrow, now you're on fire. And that means that the enemy comes at you with just exactly what he knows will distract you. And that's why, there are many things you can do for self-help, but the biggest thing is take up the shield of faith, okay? Which you can extinguish the flying arrows. Take up the helmet of salvation. Remember that God has saved you. And pick up the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Hear me out on this. Some of you love gaming. I love that. Okay, it's great. Good for you. Some of you in here, you love hanging out with friends. You love texting. You love being on social media. But can I just tell you, those of you who are going to go far and who are going to be wise, no matter what profession you're in, because we need Christian and kingdom workers in every profession, you need to be in this book. You need to be digesting it. Every day, if you read 3 chapters a day, you'll have the Bible read in less than a year. Like 3 chapters a day, that's it. Like you can even listen to it on the Bible app. We made it like so easy, right here. And so we have this armor, not because it's our battle, but because it's God's battle, and God knows what we're up against. Because here's the deal. Kingdom work is difficult. It's hard. It's challenging. It will break your heart. Now, eventually, I ended up moving back in with my parents, and then I graduated. I went to Bible college in the Mecca of Christianity called Joplin, Missouri, Ozark Christian College. No relation to the TV show, but Ozark Christian. And so after that, I moved out to Southern California, like when it was popular to do that, and went out there. And I was out here on staff at my church. I'm out here for 11 years, and it was great. Got married. My son is 6'4", by the way. Do you know that? And I asked my wife, I'm like, do we need to do a DNA swab? I'm like, here's the deal. I get it. There's forgiveness, but there's also tuition. So if there's another guy that needs to help out with their payments, let's get that guy involved. But no, he's definitely my child. And so I lived in Dallas, Texas for 3.5 years because we all got to live in purgatory at some point in our life. What was hostile? You got Jerry Jones, you got the Cowboys, you got the Mavs. Exactly. But here's what happened. My mom and dad, after I'd been in Dallas for a year and preaching at this church, my mom and dad moved down there separately to be close to our family. And then, they're like, can we start attending your church? I'm like, you want to attend my church? You see, my mom's partner died, and unless a miracle happened, she died without Christ. And my mom was just upset and alone, and then she moved down, and my dad wanted to move down, and they're like, can we attend your church? And I'm like, you know what I believe about that? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, come on over. Water's nice and warm. You know, it's great. church in Dallas, Texas, put aside their political differences, their ideologies, everything, and they treated my parents better than I did. Do you know how annoying it is when people treat your parents better than you do? And like, honestly, I was watching, it was insane. And I remembered the last part of this passage. Because you see, God has given us his armor to fight a spiritual battle. And the spiritual battle is for the souls of other people. It is you sharing the gospel. And when you do that, Satan's going to come at you with everything. And he knows where to hurt you. He knows. Some of you, you blame things on Satan. That wasn't Satan. That was your own dumb self. Me too, by the way. I've told my kids if there's no Satan, there'd still be Caleb. Nobody sabotages me like me. But there is a spiritual enemy that is out to get you. And he does not want you whatsoever to save people. Here's the deal. I wear this cross right here. Satan does not care if you wear a cross. No, listen. He does not care if you wear a cross. What scares him is when you carry the cross. And Jesus says in Luke 9:23 that if anyone wants to be my disciple, you must pick up your cross and follow me daily. Now, in the first century when Jesus said that, nobody ever picked up a cross and lived. There's only one person, his name is Jesus Christ. That's it. Nobody else. Everybody else who picked up a cross died. Peter was crucified upside down. Andrew was crucified in an X shape. Matthew was crucified. There have been people, they're in the Middle East, they still, in some countries, secretly crucify people. Hear me out on this. Nobody picks up a cross and lives. And Jesus is saying, you want to be my disciple, you have to die to your desires, you have to die to yourself every single day because my mission is worth it. Making disciples, sharing the gospel, telling other people about Jesus, it's worth it. And this is why, in the last part of Ephesians 6, verses 18 through 20, Paul asks for prayer, and he talks about prayer. He's like, pray for me when I speak. Here's what he says, verse 18, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions and with all kinds of prayers and requests. And with this in mind, be alert. Remember what I said at the beginning of the sermon. Be alert. Always keep praying for me and the Lord's people. Pray also for me that whenever I speak, words may be given to me so that I will fearlessly, he's going to say this twice, that I will fearlessly, with no concern for my own safety, because it can be dangerous to be on God's team sometimes. It can be dangerous. Pray for me. The words may be given to me so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel for which I'm an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly as I should. And he wrote this while he was under house arrest with a Roman soldier chained to him. How many of you know that person probably became a Christian? He wrote this in a city that was not living and oriented towards Jesus. And yet he said, pray for me as I do this ministry. And that is what we want for you. Know that we, all summer, all year, from here on out, we will be praying for you in the same way. Because here's the deal. When you decide to step into somebody's life, and when you decide and own the fact that you are sent, God will use you, and you will be like Satan. The enemy will come at you, but you know what the result is? The result is the more you do it, the better you're going to be at it. God's going to use you in unique ways. He's going to use some of you in this way and some of you in this way, and some of you are going to reach people that other people can't reach, and so on and so forth. And those people will become followers of Jesus, and God gets all the glory when somebody far from him becomes a follower of him. Now, I moved out of Texas and moved back to Southern California. Preached at another church. And when I was in Texas, 2 or 3 weeks before I moved, at the ages of 69, 70, my mom and dad both gave their lives to Jesus Christ. Did they believe everything I believe? No. Was I the one that led them there? I mean, God used me, but God used a lot of people in the church, and God used people that I didn't even know. And the last 4 years, both of my parents have gone to be with the Lord. I remember where I was, and I'm going to close with this. I remember where I was very last, when I got the phone call that my mom had passed. I was driving to church. My kids were a lot younger. I had my AirPod in. The nurse calls. No bedside manner. Said, sir, your mom's dead. I'm like, well, I'm awake. Thank you. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be mad at her. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Who knows? And I've made those calls before, and they're not fun. And so I didn't tell my kids till after church, and I got to church, and I wasn't crying. The kids went into student ministry on Saturday night, and I just sat in the parking lot, and I'm like, why am I not crying? Am I like a sociopath now? Am I a serial killer? Like, why am I not crying? I'm like, there's something wrong with me. I'm not crying. I should be crying. I'm like, sorry, Caleb. I forgot that all of us handle grief differently, and so I didn't know what to do. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. It's surreal. And so I walked into the worship service, and everybody was singing. And when I heard everybody singing, that's when the waterworks started out of nowhere. Because when I heard our church when I heard them singing during that Saturday night service, singing these praises to the Father who sits on the throne, I thought to myself, that is exactly what my mom and dad are doing right now. They are standing. They are standing before the throne praising God. Why? Because there were some kingdom workers that did not care about being made fun of or rejected. They did not care about what others would do to them. They didn't care about what others thought. They just saw two human beings that were in need of a Savior. And they said, well, I'm going to push everything aside so that I can tell these people about Jesus. Hear me out on this. Tonight is the last night. Kingdom work goes on for the rest of your life on this earth. And hear me out on this. You have no idea whose life hangs in the balance. You have no idea what God can do with the life of a fully surrendered person like you. Let me pray for you.